I never thought my stepson would act this way. The rain pounded against the windows in a relentless rhythm, mirroring the weight in my chest. The dimly lit living room felt suffocating, silence pressing down on me. I sat alone, staring at nothing, the emptiness inside me deepening. My husband was away again, always away. Then a sound broke through. The door creaked open. My breath caught in my chest. No one was supposed to be here. Slowly, I turned my head, and my heart stopped. Standing in the doorway, drenched from head to toe, was my stepson. His eyes burned with an intensity I couldn't decipher. Water streamed from his soaked clothes, his shirt clinging to his frame. For a moment that stretched endlessly, he just stood there, staring. "What are you doing here?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him without a sound. His presence made the room feel smaller. I rose to my feet slowly, my pulse hammering so loudly I feared he could hear it. "You weren't supposed to be back tonight," I said, my voice unsteady. "Plans changed," he finally answered, his tone low and calm, unsettling in its quiet intensity. The air between us shifted, thick with something unspoken. My stomach knotted, but I forced myself to stay composed. "You're soaked," I said quickly, eager to break the silence. "Let me get you a towel." Turning to the hallway closet, I rummaged through for a towel, my trembling hands betraying my attempt at control. Every second stretched unbearably long. My mind spun with questions I dared not ask. Why was he here? And why did the room feel so charged? When I turned back, towel in hand, I gasped softly. He was standing right there, too close. His warmth radiated toward me despite the chill in the room. My fingers brushed his as I handed him the towel, the touch lingering just a fraction too long. A spark ignited, something undeniable, something I wasn't supposed to feel. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. I swallowed hard, struggling to steady my breath. "It's late," I said. "You should get some rest." He didn't move. His gaze stayed locked onto mine, searching, waiting for something I couldn't give. Finally, he stepped back, creating distance that should have brought relief, but didn't. "Good night," I forced out before turning and walking upstairs, each step a battle against the chaos inside me. Sleep never came. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling as the rain continued its relentless assault outside. The house creaked and groaned, each sound tightening the knot in my chest. Clutching my pillow, I tried to silence the storm inside me, but it wasn't the rain that kept me awake. It was him, his gaze, his touch, the tension that lingered like a secret I wasn't meant to know. I sat up abruptly, pressing my hands to my face. "Stop it," I whispered to myself. "You're imagining things." But the more I tried to push the memory away, the clearer it became. The way he had stood too close, the way the air between us had felt charged with something dangerous. Then a sound, footsteps, soft, deliberate, and far too close. I froze, listening. The steps halted just outside my door. My breath hitched. I could feel his presence through the wood, heavy and undeniable. Time stretched unbearably long until, finally, the footsteps retreated, fading into the distance. Exhaling shakily, I tried to calm my racing heart. Relief didn't come. Instead, a new question burned in my mind. Why had he come? Slipping out of bed, I padded silently across the cold floor. The hallway was dark, illuminated only by faint moonlight filtering through the windows. My hand hovered over the doorknob. I shouldn't do this, but I couldn't stop myself. I turned the knob slowly. The hinges creaked, sending a shiver down my spine. A soft glow seeped through the gap in his door. Something about it was unsettling, irresistible. This is wrong. But even that didn't stop me. Step by step, I moved closer, my pulse pounding louder with each inch. Standing outside his room, I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the handle. Don't do this. But I pushed the door open just enough to see inside. He was seated on the edge of his bed, his back to me, posture stiff, waiting. Are you okay? The words slipped out before I could stop them. He turned toward me slowly. His expression was unreadable, his eyes filled with something raw, vulnerable. I couldn't sleep, he said quietly. Just thinking. Thinking about what? My voice felt too loud in the stillness as I stepped inside, my feet moving without conscious thought. His gaze flickered to his hands before returning to mine. About us. The words struck like a blow, knocking the air from my lungs. I should have walked away, but I didn't. What do you mean? I whispered. His eyes held mine, dark, unwavering. I don't know why, he murmured, almost to himself, but I can't stop thinking about you. The room tilted. My heart stuttered. You shouldn't say that, I managed, my voice barely audible. But I didn't step back. The space between us shrank. His hand lifted, brushing against my cheek. His touch was soft, innocent, and yet it wasn't. Everything about this moment was wrong, and yet, somehow, it felt impossibly right. My mind screamed at me to move, to pull away, but my body refused to listen. I stood there, frozen, caught between the pull of desire and the weight of guilt. Stop, I whispered, but even I didn't believe it. His thumb grazed my lips. I sucked in a shaky breath. The closer he came, the harder it was to resist. Then, a sound, a car engine in the driveway. My husband. Panic surged through me. Reality crashed down like a wave. What is it? He asked, his eyes searching mine. I stumbled back, gasping. I can't do this. He didn't follow. He didn't need to. The front door swung open. My husband's laughter filled the house, casual, unaware, oblivious to the storm that had just passed through his home. I turned one last time. My stepson was gone, retreating into the shadows. The soft click of his door closing echoed in the silence. But nothing would ever be the same again.